Hi, and welcome to the next episode in our Gifted Education series. Today we're going to be focusing on resources for parents of gifted students. My name is Dr. Jo Tuite, and I thank you for joining me. I have worked in the field of gifted education for just about 35 years, and to share just a little bit about my background, my educational background in particular, I have undergraduate degrees in business administration as well as sociology, a master's in educational administration, and a doctorate in educational leadership with a focus on gifted education. Lending context to my educational background are my kiddos. I am the proud parent of 4 kids who kind of lay along that spectrum of educational needs. I have one kiddo who requires special education services, another who's a creative thinker. I have a high achiever and a gifted learner. So as you can imagine, we have utilized all types of resources and had many different experiences that have definitely benefited me in my role here at the Indiana Academy, as well as in research into gifted education. So with that background, let's jump right into today's topic. On the screen in front of you, you'll see an overview of what we're going to cover in this episode. I'm first going to touch on high ability identification for students within the state of Indiana, and then I'll spend the majority of our time talking about resources. I'm going to touch a little bit on local school system resources, as well as a few books that I would recommend, but the majority of my time is going to be spent sharing with you information for state and national organizations that you might find to be very beneficial. Approximately 5 to 10% of the overall student age population can be identified as high ability or gifted and talented. The terms high ability and gifted and talented are often used interchangeably, and you'll find that I do that throughout the rest of this episode. Indiana tends to lean a little bit more toward using the term high ability, where the majority of other states tend to use gifted and talented, but those terms are interchangeable. So again, about 5 to 10% of the school age population is identified as high ability or gifted and talented. There is a national mandate for schools in the United States to identify high ability or gifted and talented students. Indiana's mandate that you can see there on the screen in front of you is very reflective of the national mandate, in that I'm just going to point out that it says that students must be identified who either perform at or show the potential for performing at kind of that high level of accomplishment when compared to other students at the same age and demographic brackets and so forth. And they only have to be identified in one domain to be considered high ability or gifted and talented. And you can see there on the screen in front of you the different domains that Indiana has identified. The national mandate as well as the state mandate do not give specifics, though, as to how to go about identification. And Indiana has given each school district permission, if you will, to develop their own methods for identification. There's kind of a best practice that exists in that that provides students identification using both qualitative and quantitative methods. So looking at standardized testing along with a portfolio, for example. That's not the only combination of the quantitative-qualitative method, but by way of example, you could also use looking at grades and interviews, or again, any other types of methods. The best practices are using both the quantitative and the qualitative. It's really helpful because that qualitative not only can bring out other aspects that may not be picked up in the quantitative review, but it can also, the qualitative can also lend context of what you're seeing in those quantitative numbers. It's typically recommended, again, with best practices using local norms over national and state norms, because that is going to give the best chances, if you will, for identification, because it is looking at norms within that actual geographic community. Within your local school system, you'll have a high ability coordinator. The high ability coordinator is the person that will work to set up identification of high ability students. And it's also the person that, as a parent or family member, you're going to be working closely with to help your student with, or your educators with developing, for example, differentiated curriculum for your student, and to look at other assessment plans. You'll also work with your high ability coordinator, particularly for those high school age students, in looking at AP courses as well as dual credit classes to provide your high ability student with that higher level curriculum, if you will. They're also the person that will provide you with information about enrichment classes and activities that might be offered there at the school or within the local community, or even state and national opportunities as well. They're also the person that you're going to want to reach out to when you're searching or find yourself searching for supplemental opportunities. Some of those could include summer school options or looking at online classes. Again, these are things to supplement what they're already doing there in the school system. They may also be able to point you to any local high ability parent groups that may exist. As parents and family members supporting gifted students, I highly recommend trying to connect with a parent group, whether it's there locally or if it's a statewide or national parent group, so that you're able to get the support that you need as you're walking this educational journey with your high ability student. You'll see on the screen in front of you a list of just a couple of books that I do recommend. The top one there, A Parent's Guide to Gifted Children, fantastic resource. I actually go back myself and review it in totality at least once a year to kind of refresh. It is a very good resource. It's going to share with you information about identification, social and emotional aspects, asynchronous development. So again, excellent information. So A Parent's Guide to Gifted Children, I highly recommend. The next three books that you see on the list there, Gifted Children Decoded, Doing Poorly on Purpose, and Raising Twice Exceptional Children. Again, each of those excellent resources in my opinion, and I'm not going to really talk about those in this episode because I do have an upcoming episode in February where I'm going to do kind of a deep dive, a book review on those three particular books. And then the last one there, Gifted and Distractible, also one that I would recommend. It's really looking at ways to support and advocate for twice exceptional children. So again, another fantastic resource. If you are looking for additional resources kind of above and beyond this, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would be happy to assist with that. And as we move into some of the state and national organizations that I'm going to share with you next, they also offer some fantastic publications and book options as well. You'll see on the screen there in front of you a list of state and national organizations. These are the organizations that I'm going to spend just a few minutes talking about. I'm not going to go into a lot of information with each of these, but I do want to provide you with their names, their web addresses, and share a little bit about the information that's provided by each of these organizations. I do think that as you're walking this journey with your high ability student that you'll find some, if not all of these, to be quite helpful. The first organization I'll talk about is the Indiana Association for the Gifted, or IAG. IAG is a statewide organization that assists families, educators, and students. They work toward advocacy, education, research, and so much more. You'll see their web address on the screen in front of you, and I do want to mention that as of today, that site is down and may be down for just a little while. I spoke with the Director of Technology and Conference Resources, and they have taken that temporarily down as they are updating literally every resource that they have. So if you go to that link and it's down, just know that it'll be back up shortly, and when it does come back up, it'll have fantastic information. Some of the things that IAG does provide, and I'm told they'll provide again with their online parent resources, is information on high ability education both inside and outside of the school system, information on advocacy, both state and national, as well as information for families of twice exceptional students. Each year, the Indiana Association for the Gifted hosts a statewide conference held in Indianapolis, typically in the month of December. And that conference is for educators and parents and families alike. Sunday evening, they always have a program piece specifically for families or parents of high ability students that include a presentation or two, as well as a wonderful resource fair where they have colleges and other organizations and businesses who provide educational materials, games, and so forth, come in, and parents have an opportunity then to kind of walk around and talk with them. There are items for purchase if you're interested in doing so, but it is a fantastic opportunity to make some great connections, to learn about the different resources that are out there. So if you have the opportunity to attend their state conference, it is definitely something that I would highly recommend. Next is the National Association for Gifted Children, or NAGC. NAGC is a national organization, and IAG is a part of that. NAGC, if you click on type in the link that you see there on your screen and click on resources, you're going to find some fantastic information for families and parents. You're going to find a section that breaks down terms and definitions. I highly recommend taking a look at that, especially if you're new to high ability education. It's going to provide you with a solid foundation for the different terms and definitions that will be used throughout the rest of their resources as well as other resources. You'll also find a section on strategies and best practices, and the two that I really kind of want to take a moment to highlight would be their publications and their parent tip sheets. In the publications section, there's one that comes out, I think it's quarterly. It's called Parenting for High Potential, and that provides parents and families of high ability or gifted students different tips. They share articles, strategies, upcoming events, organizations, lots of great information. So that is a resource that you may find to be quite helpful. And then under the parent tip sheets, that's probably my favorite section of their website. When you click on that, you're going to be met with a plethora of downloadable PDFs containing information in a wide variety of areas. There are going to be some that are talking about specific issues or types of social and emotional interests. You're going to find downloadables on giftedness in the classroom, downloadables on advocacy, on creativity, and so much more. That is a fantastic resource. They're free, so you can download those, read them at your leisure, share them with other family members or even with educators within your school system who you think may find the information to be helpful or useful. So again, those are kind of the big highlights in the parent section of the NAGC. Well, those are the pieces that you're going to find most helpful within that site of NAGC. I did want to take just another second to highlight one other section within their website, and that's the piece on advocacy. You're going to find information in this section on how to advocate for your child within the classroom, how to advocate for gifted programming within your local school system, as well as a very helpful update on federal legislation as it pertains to high ability or gifted students. Very similar, as I mentioned about IAG, NAGC also has a national conference, and it can literally be anywhere in the nation. On a given year, it kind of travels around, and they also have excellent resources and programming for parents at that. And then the final piece that I'll make mention of in this other section of the NAGC site is that they do have a resource directory, and that resource directory contains information on schools, camps, programs, and more. And these are going to be from throughout the United States, but you can narrow that down and look at just those from your particular area or your particular state as well. The next organization I'll mention is World Council for Gifted and Talented Children. This is actually an international organization, so you may find it very interesting to take a look at the resources that they have there, as they're not going to pertain just to students in the United States. It is going to have a world view. When you go to their website and click on resources, you're going to find a calendar that lists all different types of activities, events, and such taking place, but they have within that some webinars that can be very beneficial. The nice thing about World Council is that if you can't attend the live version of the webinar, they later go back and post the recorded version, so that you can watch that after the fact. They also have a discussion forum. That discussion forum tends to be a little bit more geared toward educators and researchers, but I have been in there and seen some parent conversations taking place as well. So the discussion forum may or may not provide use for you, but it's definitely worth it to kind of take a look at. They do have a world conference. Every other year it takes place here in the United States, actually in Kentucky. They have a connection with one of the universities there. So again, that could be a great resource for you as well, though again that does tend to be a little bit more focused toward educators and researchers. And then finally, they do offer a variety of different publications on their site as well. These can be really interesting because they're talking about gifted and talented from that international perspective, and it talks about different global principles and professional learning. So I do recommend taking a look at it if you're interested in kind of doing a little bit deeper dive into gifted education and taking a look at that kind of global perspective. Next is the GERI program coming out of Purdue University. And GERI stands for Gifted Education Research and Resource Institute. So again, GERI. I've actually known hundreds of students that have participated in different programs from GERI and have never heard a negative comment from any of the students or their parents. They put together very high quality programming. Within their youth programs, they have summer residential camps that take place there on the Purdue University campus. They have super summer programs, which tend to be more day-long type camps, and then they have their Super Saturdays, which take place obviously on Saturdays. It can be during the academic year and or during the summer, and typically they're consecutive Saturdays. For each of these programs, there tends to be an age range for them, and they each kind of have a central theme to them, and then there are hands-on and interactive components to them, where if you will, they have kind of a hands-on, minds-on type of approach. So again, I definitely recommend those youth programs if you're looking to enhance or provide enrichment to your student. You'll also find on that web address a section that provides you with research and professional development for those who are educators. So again, fantastic programs. It's a well-established summer program, and like I said, I've never heard anybody come through there with a negative thing to say. Likewise, for Northwestern University's Center for Talent Development, when you go to that website and click on programs, you're going to see that they offer summer programs, online programs, weekend programs, and leadership and service learning programs. These are all absolutely fantastic. Some of them are enrichment oriented, and some of them are for credit, so for high school and or dual college credit. Fantastic programs. Again, just like with the Jerry program, I've known hundreds of students that have participated in different opportunities that CTD offers and have never heard anything negative for them. They also have kind of a central theme to their programming and engage students intellectually, socially. They have, like the Jerry program, it's kind of that hands-on, minds-on type of approach. They also offer some great opportunities for families. They offer different consultation services so they can work with you through assessment and differentiation and program planning. They offer some great parent education resources as well as workshops and webinars. Next is the Ball State University Center for Talent Development. That program is multifaceted in so much as it seeks to identify, promote, and develop giftedness, creativity, and talent development, but also to address underachievement in gifted students. When you click on their website, you'll see that they offer resources for gifted individuals, educators, parents, as well as schools and communities. Their site does not actually list the types of resources, just kind of these big titles there, and you won't find you'll find a short list of other organizations that you can click on, but they don't actually have any resources, programming, webinars, or anything like that listed. They ask that you contact them for additional information and for resources. I think that's probably because they're really trying to personalize it to each individual need. But again, I've worked with the Ball State Center for Talent Development for many years, and they do provide a wonderful quality service. You're just going to need to make that personal contact with them instead of finding the resource actually on their website. Next, we have Supporting Emotional Needs of the Gifted, or SENG. This is a fantastic organization that offers social and emotional support for gifted students. It's particularly beneficial for those in mental health professions or families that are kind of seeking to deepen or broaden their understanding. They provide a library of articles as well as a journal. The journal, I believe there is a cost for, but many of the articles you can just click on and read. They have community groups, they have free outreach programs, as well as a bookstore. One of the things that they do is they do have these retreats for their community groups. So it is something you would have to travel to, as it's an in-person retreat, but it can be a great way of making connections and getting additional information for those social and emotional needs. The next resource we're going to talk about, I've actually heard pronounced multiple different ways. I'm going with Hoagie's Gifted Education, but if you want to pronounce it differently, that's okay. When you click on the Hoagie's website, you're going to see that they call themselves the All Things Gifted page. And it can be a little bit overwhelming when you land on their page because there literally is so much information and it feels just a little bit chaotic when you get there. But they have some fantastic resources. They have resources for parents, for educators, and what I really like is they have resources for gifted kids and teens. For getting started as a parent or family member, they have two links, if you will, that are identified as kind of where to start. So there's the Gifted 101 for first-time visitors, and there is the Gifted 102, which kind of gives you those next steps and talks about acronyms, terms, and so forth. And then, of course, there's just a plethora of other information there as well. For educators, school counselors, psychologists, administrators, they offer curriculum resources, information kind of broken down by different subject matter. So again, a lot of great information for the educational community. And then again, what I really like about this site is that information that they have for the gifted kids and teens. When you click on that link, you're going to find a reading list. You're going to find magazines, smart toys, movies, fun links, and so much more for your gifted kiddos. So again, fantastic resource. But again, just be warned, they are the All Things Gifted page, and it can be a little bit overwhelming as you land on that page, but don't let that deter you. Take the time and really kind of dig in, because you'll find some things that can be very, very beneficial to you. The next organization that we'll take a quick little look at here is the Davidson Institute. The Davidson Institute provides support, resources, and summer programs for students in 18 and older who are identified as profoundly gifted. As you go to their site, you're going to see a resource library where they provide free resources, gifted resources and guides for families and parents of high ability or gifted students. Some of the topics that you'll find within that resource guide are information for twice exceptional children, information on mental health, information on friendships and social skills, acceleration for gifted students, and then one of the things that I do think is really great about this site is they also have information specifically geared toward homeschool gifted children. So again, that's kind of an overview of some of those resources that you'll see there. Just as a kind of a little side note here, fun piece of trivia, you'll find that they have a book mentioned there called, and I'm going to look at the title so I get it right here, Genius Denied: How to Stop Wasting Our Brightest Young Minds. And that was written by the co-founders of the Davidson Institute. You'll also see that a contributing author by the name of Laura Vanderkam is mentioned. Here's the trivia piece for you. Laura Vanderkam is an Indiana Academy alum. This is a really good book. I read it quite a number of years ago. Very good book, still relevant. I can also recommend that as a resource for you. I'll just very briefly mention the Jack Kent Cooke Foundation. I actually do not have a lot of experience with the foundation, though I have heard absolutely incredible things about it. So I've listed their link and to their resource library. One of the things that really stands out to me about the Cooke Foundation is that they offer financial assistance and academic support to high school students, undergraduate students, and graduate students alike. And as a Cooke scholar, you're able to join kind of this incredible network of high ability individuals, as well as the Cook Foundation support system. And so again, like I said, I actually do not have any experience working with this organization, but have heard some very good things about it. So I did want to mention that scholarship opportunity that they provide. And again, they do have a resource library. You often heard said, I've saved the best for last, and that's what I've done. We're going to talk about next one of my favorite topics, the Indiana Academy for Science, Mathematics, and Humanities. The Indiana Academy is one of the state's best resources for gifted education. It was founded in 1988 by the Indiana General Assembly and actually opened its doors in 1990. The purpose of the Indiana Academy is to provide a physical, intellectual, and social environment where high ability students can join an academic community and thrive. I joined the Indiana Academy in 1991 and have had the privilege of knowing all 4,000 plus alumni and current students, and it's been an honor to watch students come into the program and truly grow and thrive and go out into the world and do amazing, incredible things. So I'm going to talk just for a few moments about the Indiana Academy. You can see on your screen there some of our just recently released national rankings. A couple that I just do want to highlight is that we have been named the top 10 best public high school teachers in America, as well as top 15 best public high schools in America. Within the state, we are the #1 best public high school, as well as the best college prep and best for STEM. So again, just have to brag a little bit with those national rankings. So to share with you a few of the resources that the Indiana Academy offers to students within the state of Indiana, you're going to go to the address, the web address that you see there on your screen, and you'll be able to kind of drill down into the different resources. We offer a youth enrichment programs. Those are for students K through 12, and those tend to be, some of them are held in the school systems across the state, some of them are held here on our campus, which we're located on the campus of Ball State University. And we also offer a summer adventure camp. Those are fantastic. Those are day camps located here on campus. My youngest daughter has attended quite a number of those camps, especially when she was a little bit younger. She attended some that focused on architecture, and I remember her building structures out of graham crackers and icing. She loved that. Another one that she really enjoyed was one that focused on international games. So they learned a little bit about different countries and about the games that they played, and then they actually got to play the games. She attended one on cooking, another one on dissecting. They dissected a lot of different things in that one, and she loved it. She attended one on poetry, and a number of others. So there's always a wide variety. They are very engaging programs and allow students to really kind of experience different disciplines and decide whether or not that's a passion of theirs, right? So fantastic programs. Again, those are the summer adventure camps. We also have online education, and these are higher level classes that students can take while they're there in their current high school. So it's to supplement what they're doing there in the high school. We would work with the school to get the students set up for that. But again, that is an online education program. And then we have a gifted education series, which you're at right now, specifically for parents and families of high ability students, where I tackle different topics within the field of gifted education to try to provide you with not only foundational information, but resources that you're going to need to walk this gifted journey with your kiddo. We also offer a career exploration series. The career exploration series allows students to really explore a number of different career opportunities that exist out there. So they'll get to see the pathways that, college pathways that professionals working in those fields took, and whether or not they recommend them and why they recommend them, what the actual career is like. They'll often share what a day in the life at my job is. They'll talk about up and coming things that they see within the next 5 to 10 years of a particular field. So again, fantastic program, a series of programs, the Career Exploration Series. And then we also have our High Ability High School. So that is an actual brick and mortar school, again located on the campus of Ball State University, for students in grades 10 through 12. We have both a commuter as well as a residential option. And this is designed for students who are really seeking a different type of education, who are looking to take some of those upper level classes and study study subjects in a way that's specifically designed for high ability students. I invite you to join me here on campus for a Discovery Day program. And I'm going to advance the slide real quick here for you. You'll see on your screen there 2 QR codes. The one on the left, you can click on that to sign up for the Discovery Day program, where you get to come to campus and kind of immerse for a day in learning all those aspects of what the Academy is and how we benefit students. And with that, you'll get to talk with current students, parents, alumni, faculty. You'll get to take a tour of the facilities and even experience a class. So that would be our in-person Discovery Day programs. We also have a Shadow Day program where you can sign up to immerse yourself in classes for a half day or a whole day. And not only do you get to go into the classrooms and watch them, but you're invited to participate. So join those group discussions, join those activities, and really see what it's like to be an Academy student. We also have What Makes the Academy Exceptional online series. We cover various different topics in that. And then, of course, you can go on and sign up for the next in our Gifted Education series. I believe the next episode I'll be talking about perfectionism and perfectionistic tendencies. I also have others coming up on intelligence, where we'll be talking about how to support highly intelligent children. We'll have another one on the book reviews that I mentioned. So please, I do invite you to take a look at those. You'll also see another QR code there on your screen. That's to schedule a virtual or in-person visit with me. So if you'd like to talk more about what we've kind of covered here today, or topics from any of the other Gifted Education series, or just questions in general, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Again, that QR code on the right will take you directly to my calendar, and you can book an appointment with me, or you can see that I have my telephone number and email address on the screen, and I invite you to reach out to me that way as well. I want to thank you so much for joining me with as we kind of talked about the different resources that are available to you, both locally within the state and within our nation. Giftedness isn't a destination, but it is a journey worth guiding. I want to thank you so much for walking alongside your gifted student and the journey that they're taking. Have a great day.